the top 10 NFL teams through Week 8. Let's go.
By the way, as soon as we state it, as soon as we post it, it is now accepted as fact, and you have to abide by it. It's the best list out there. Number 10, the Buffalo Bills. Look, they still have Josh Allen. They still have a serviceable defense. They still have Stephon Diggs. Outside of their top 3 or 4 players, there is not a lot of depth to this team. They don't run the football particularly well. I don't like the offensive line a ton. Ken Dorsey's been fine, but they still seem very Josh Allen dependent. If he has a really good game, they most likely win. If he has a B- to C+ game, they probably don't win. We saw that in New England, right? So you just don't know what you're getting from week to week with the Bills, and that's been their main problem. That's why they're at 10, but you still can't neglect the fact that they do have a lot of top-end talent. Yes, some injuries are hurting them, but they still have Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, some good guys on the defense. So, number 10 for the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, and I think this is going to be a team that kind of turns it around a little bit more and works their way back up the list by the next time that we do it. I'm going to go ahead and make that prediction that in the next 4 weeks, they're not going to be sitting at the 10 slot. I could see them around 6, 7, 8.
Oh, I'd be willing to make a wager that they're not in the top 10
Well, really?
next time we do this list.
I don't know. I just think that team, the talent is undeniable. It's just, can they put it together?
I mean, do you want me to tell you the schedule? It gets rough. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's go.
So next they go to Cincinnati.
Well,
They get the Broncos at home. That's probably good. When they get the Jets at home, they have struggled with the Jets the past couple years. Then they go to Philadelphia. Then they go to Arrowhead. Then they get the Cowboys at home. That's still not a gimme. Then they go to LA to face the Chargers. Then they have the Patriots at home. Then they go to Miami, which has given them fits the last couple years in terms of being in Miami.
hey, destiny's theirs.
I don't think it's an easy schedule. I don't know.
They rack up a couple wins in there, though. They're moving up.
We'll see. Number 9 is the team that I just mentioned, the Miami Dolphins. I think the offense is more dynamic and it's more consistent. Yes, I worry about them playing good quality playoff teams and good defenses. I worry about that with almost every quarterback in football, though.
Yeah.
You know, I worry about that with Josh Allen. I worry about that with Dak Prescott. I worry about that with Geno. I worry about that with a ton of quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff. Like, most quarterbacks don't play well against playoff defenses. I think it's an indictment on them, but it's the reality of the situation. So I'm not going to hold that against them a ton. I still think the offense is really, really good. They get Jalen Ramsey back on the defense, so the defense should improve slightly. I mean, what, is Jalen Ramsey worth 3 points? Maybe. In terms of overall average per game. I think he could be worth about 3 points. So, hey, who knows? I think Miami's a lot better today than people give them credit for just because of the playoff thing. They're going to rip off a lot of wins here. They're going to be a 10, 11-win team, number 9 for Miami.
I like it. It's weird to see them above Buffalo after knowing that like Buffalo beat them. But when you look at the season as a full piece, as itself,
Buffalo's just too inconsistent.
Yeah.
Miami's a little bit more consistent. Now, again, we'll see with the schedule. If they start playing tougher teams, then who knows. But number 8, the Dallas Cowboys. They are a lot like Miami, they're a lot more like Buffalo than they are in Miami. I don't know what I'm getting from week to week from Dak, from that receiving core. If
always a toss-up.
If CeeDee Lamb rolls an ankle, I don't know who he's throwing the ball to. Tony Pollard doesn't seem like a 1. Their defense is good, not special, I don't think, without Trayvon Diggs. Yeah. I don't know what I'm getting, but they win games, and they clobbered LA this week. And I think the Rams are a very good football team. Maybe not very good. They're a very competent football team. Well coached, good quarterback. Defense has been better than expected, although not great, better than expected. Good run game, good weapons. They completely destroyed them, and it was not particularly close. So you got to give them credit where credit's due. Dallas still has the knockout punch ability just because good defense, good offensive line, can run the football, and when healthy and when at home, Dak's a very good quarterback. He's an A- quarterback at home as a favorite. And so that's got to be taken into account. Dallas at 8.
All of those things are true, but can they beat the average team? Can they not shoot themselves in the foot?
I was going to say, their main problem, and it's not exactly who they play. Yes, they lose more against playoff teams. Again, so does everybody in football. It's every third week they come out and they look like a bottom 3 team in football.
Well, they lose the game for themselves.
You know, they come out the first 2 weeks scorching hot, and they go to Arizona and get throttled.
Yeah.
You know, then they respond with a big win against, I forget who they beat after Arizona, and then they get throttled the next week. You know, it's just they're very, very up and down. So, like, look, they go out, they crush the Rams. They have Philly next week. What are the odds they get throttled? I'd say pretty high.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seattle at 7. To me, that might be That's the sleeping giant in the NFC. Let's just say that. Because on any given Sunday, nobody wants to see that defense with Pete Carroll. They're fast, they're lanky, they're long. They are. That's a physical defense that gives you a lot of year before Legion of Boom vibes. Like they're not quite there. One more year in that system, they have Legion of Boom potential, but you can see it starting to formulate there. Yeah. And look, do I think Geno Smith's great? No, I don't. No, I think he's a B- quarterback. But he's been playing well. They can run the football. DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba starting to find his own in the slot there. Seattle has weapons. They have a good defense. And there's no doubt Pete Carroll's a top 10 coach in football. Seattle at 7.
It's they always surprise me. And they always seem to like slip under the radar a little bit until you come out and you play them and you're like, oh my God, we just got absolutely waxed. So... yeah, they make sense there. Their offense is pretty good. Defense, like you said, is absolutely electric. So that's going to be enough to win you things in the NFC at least.
Well, yeah, and we gave you a team last week that could move up, and it was the Bengals, and they did. I'll give you a team this week. It's Seattle that I think could move down. I think eventually Seattle. No, I don't think they're going to plummet. I think they're going to be a very good football team. But I think they could end up closer to 9 or 10 than 6 or 7 probably.
Yeah.
So let's go number 6 here, Detroit. Look, Jared Goff, very accurate. On time, in rhythm, efficient. They can run the football. Jahmyr Gibbs is a stud.
Yeah, he's good.
A stud. I'm so glad Ben Johnson removed his own head from his own ass and started playing Jahmyr Gibbs more because he is a significantly better running back than David Montgomery. It's not particularly close. And the defense has been serviceable. It was one of the worst units in football last year. They have been very good. Jack Campbell in the middle as a linebacker has been good as a first-round pick. Alex Anzalone has been one of the best linebackers in football. Their secondary is not great, but it's serviceable because they get a pass rush. They don't have to cover for 3 or 4 seconds. Can they cover for 2.5 to 3.5? Absolutely they can, and they have. Detroit at 6.
Yeah, I like them there. They looked good on Monday Night Football, especially in the first half. They looked super on time. The only thing that worried me a little bit was they started to decline like pretty noticeably into the second half. Jared Goff started making some bad reads, and you're going to get the inconsistency with Jared Goff at some times, but most of the time, he's going to be a very solid quarterback. He's going to win you the game more often than he's going to lose you the game.
They are still so undervalued. They are one of the best teams against the spread over the last 2 to 3 years, and they have been very good. Number 5, San Francisco. Look, 3 straight losses has to ding you a little bit, but at the end of the day, ask yourself this. Anybody on this list below them, are you taking San Fran? We'll go neutral site, right? That way there's no home field advantage. Neutral site, are you taking them over anybody below? But realistically, are you taking Jared Goff to win against that defense?
No.
And I'm a huge Jared Goff supporter. You're not taking him against that defense. You're not taking Geno Smith against that defense.
I'm taking Dak.
I already saw Dallas against them. It was a massacre.
Yep.
Maybe Miami because they can score, but even then, do you think the defense is stopping George Kittle and Chris McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, that run game? I don't. No. Buffalo maybe if they're playing their A game, but who knows? Every other week it's an F game, so you never know. But for real, San Francisco's a good football team. They've run into some tough opponents these past couple weeks. Look, to go from physical Cleveland to then go on the road in prime time, that's a tough spot. Now, coming home against Cincinnati, that's a very winnable game. That's a game you can't lose by 2 touchdowns.
Also, when Joe Burrow goes 28 for 32.
Yeah, they ran into an all-time quarterback performance. So San Francisco is still a really good football team. Don't sell all your stock on Brock Purdy. Don't sell all your stock on that defense. They're going to be fine. They're going to go win 10 or 11 games. Nobody's going to want to face them first week in the playoffs. They're going to be fine. San Francisco at 5.
In my opinion, they still have the best roster in the NFL. So
I think they definitely, at least bare minimum, have a top 3 roster. I would argue maybe Philly might be better, but it's very close. Number 4, Cincinnati. Look, we told you that they'd be on the rise. They went from 9 to 4.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is spectacular. I mean, he is unbelievable. 28 for 32, 289, 3 touchdowns, 134.8 pass rating. Unbelievable. They did whatever they wanted. They ran the football with efficiency. Not for a ton of volume, not for a ton of yards per carry, but when they needed it, they got it. The defense played well, holding them to only 17 points. I think they had 3 turnovers, if I'm not mistaken. They are starting to find their stride, starting to find their rhythm. As Jamar Chase said, Burrow's back. That's all I got to say. Burrow is back. Bengals at 4.
That was clearly evident, too.
Number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. I do think they're slightly better because I think they get more of a pass rush.
Yeah.
And at this stage, they've been more consistent. Do I think at their peak Cincinnati's better? I do, yeah. But I think Baltimore's been more consistent. I know what I'm getting from week to week, especially from their defense. Cincinnati can be a little bit hit and miss. So Baltimore, better pass rush, better consistency. And I do think I think Burrow's better, but there's an argument that Lamar might be, on a week-to-week basis, the hardest quarterback to prepare for.
Yeah.
They're for example, I know we don't talk a lot about basketball, but Russell Westbrook, a lot of people like him because he's so hard. It's a Tuesday night in Milwaukee, and you're like, and he comes in for a road trip. You're like, well, I just played 18 hours ago. What? I mean, I didn't even get to watch film on Russ. He's just so athletic, so fast. Same thing with Lamar. It's like, dude, short week. What do you do for Lamar? You have nobody in practice to simulate him. There's an argument from a week-to-week basis. He's the hardest guy to prepare for.
I would agree with that, and I think just overall they're a very well-rounded team. I mean, their offense is electric, their defense is going to come get after you, and it's a very well-coached team too in Harbaugh. So, the Ravens sitting there at 3 makes sense.
Number 2, Kansas City. I think the only quarterback that is harder to prepare for is Patrick Mahomes because you just don't know what he's going to do off script. Their defense has been fantastic, and people are like, well, what are you talking about? This got crushed by Denver. Relax. They're 6-2. They plummeted. They dropped all the way from the number 1 seed in the AFC to, wait for it, the number 1 seed in the AFC after that loss. I mean, let's relax a little bit. They still have the best tight end in football, really good offensive line. Their defense is a top 5 defense so far this season. And again, if you told me that Patrick Mahomes in the passing game is going to be the biggest problem, I would sign up for that tomorrow if I'm a Kansas City fan. They will figure that out. Andy Reid will figure that out. Kansas City's going to be fine. Don't sell your stock. That's still a very good team with the best quarterback and the best coach in football.
Yeah, don't kid yourself. This team is going to deep into the playoffs, if not to the Super Bowl again. And it's going to be that way for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to sit atop this list for a long time.
Given their loss, who on this list would they not be favored against? Maybe the number 1 team, which is Philadelphia. Like, who are they not going to be favored against? They're going to be favored against everybody else on this list.
I would even say they'd probably be favored.
They'd probably, if it's at home, they'd probably be a 2.5-point favorite. If it's on the road, maybe it's a pick'em game. Maybe they're a 1-point dog. Yeah. I mean, really. And Philadelphia at number 1. I think they started to find their identity the last couple weeks. Physical, run the football. Now, I don't like how Jalen Hurts has been gimpy on that knee. Maybe they should stop throwing him into a fire 7 times a game with that tush push.
Help.
Look, if you want to do the play, if you absolutely need it on 4th down, 4th quarter, that's fine. First quarter, why are we putting our franchise quarterback right into the jaws of life? I mean, I don't understand it. You are knocking on hell's doorstep every time you run that play, and I do think that there's a realistic risk associated with that, and I don't think they're mitigating that risk properly. But at the end of the day, they have found their identity. Physical, running, get after your quarterback. And it's weird because Washington plays them really tough, so you might sell your stock a little bit. Oh, they only beat Washington by 7. This is a really good football team. They're going to be able to out-physical almost anybody in football, and when they can't, Jalen Hurts can still deliver from the pocket. There's an argument that A.J. Brown's the best wide receiver in football so far this year. He's been fantastic. Philadelphia at 1.
Love it. To run back through, Eagles at 1, Chiefs at 2, Ravens in the 3 spot, Bengals at 4, 49ers at 5, the Detroit Lions at 6, Seattle Seahawks at 7, Cowboys at 8, Dolphins 9, and of course the Buffalo Bills in the 10 spot there.
I feel really good about it.
I like it. Those are the top 10 NFL teams after Week 8 going into the second half of the season here pretty much as we gear up for that. Now,